I have a friend in Sendai, and she is with her husband and her children. But I could contact with her through Twitter, and she's well. But his husband is working in Tohoku Electric Power, and he's working day and night, and he gave up to eat food to leave food for his wife and children. It's amazing.
So he's not even eating, you're saying? He's just working the whole time trying to turn on power for everybody else.
Yes.
And where they are they worried about the future and what's happening, whether it's just people's homes, food, shelter, the nuclear reactors?
She said that things are getting better because at the first night she slept in the car, and the next day she could sleep at home. So she said it's getting better, although things are quite confused, but she has a good image of future.
Right.
Yeah.
Noemi, how about your relatives and friends? Have you been able to contact them all?
Well, I have my family in the north of Japan, in Iwateken, which is a prefecture north of Miyagi. And I've been able to get hold of them on Sunday, so 2 days between the earthquake. And
That must have been pretty nerve-wracking.
It was very distressing. Everyone is fine. Electricity, gas and water came back on Sunday, so that's great. But the problem is they don't have any food nor any supplies in the shops, and that on a longer term could actually cause a lot of problems.
Have they got an idea? Are they telling you how this food might come in, or they just don't know? Is there no information?
They have no clue. None of the transport systems are working, so they actually don't have any supplies, and they live inland, so they haven't really been affected by the tsunami nor the earthquake, but it has its indirect consequences.
And Hiro, what about your friends and relatives?
Most of my family live in Tokyo, but the problem is my brother and his wife and son, they're living in Iwateken as well. And after a few hours of the earthquake, I've got a first call from my dad saying that everyone is alive, so I was a little bit relieved. But the problem is for the next 30 hours, my dad couldn't sort of contact them. And also because my brother was taking care of his son at home at that time, and his wife was away taking the train. And so when after the earthquake, they had to be a little bit away for the first 2 days. And his son was a little bit traumatized, and so he wouldn't like to get into the apartment again. And so my brother and his son had to stay in the car for the first 2 days. I believe it's really, really devastating experience for his son.
And also, I mean, for you looking at it, it goes without saying it must be one of the most awful things you've seen. You're all sort of clubbing together and trying to raise money. When you started seeing these images and you were worried about your friends and so on, what was it like? What went through your mind?
I experienced the earthquake to hit Kobe several years ago, and I was there. Were you? Yeah, I was there, and I have experienced that people overcame the devastating event. So I had hope we can overcome this again, but also I knew how terrible to experience and to spend days in that hit areas. So I was really worried about that. Worried about people who is living in the devastated area.
How did you survive? What happened to you in Kobe?
So, for example, my brother lost some of his friends. It was really terrible. Yeah.
And Naomi, I mean, do you when these images came through, what was going through your mind?
I just couldn't think about anything else but Japan. Also because of the distance, then you don't immediately get the answer, the information, and you have to look through unconventional media such as Twitter or Facebook to get information.
So you've been online and having the TV and radio on everything all the time?
I did, yes, and I stopped studying as well, so from Sunday onwards I just stopped watching the news because it was too nerve-wracking. But I thought immediately what we could do on a grassroots level. Us as a student in London, what could we do? And raising the money on LSE's streets seemed the obvious answer.
And this money goes where?
We will decide within the 2 weeks who will be the best organization to give the money to.
And Hiro, was the feeling that you wanted to get on a plane if you could and go back, or is it frustrating having to stay here and see it all from a distance? Or
yeah, of course. I mean, the things that we can do here is very limited. And I mean, even if I can go to Tokyo right now, probably there is not many things that I can do there. So what we can just do is just worrying about and praying for them. And that's the only thing that is really frustrating for me.
I mean, it seems an earthquake, a tsunami, and now all these talk of nuclear meltdown or not. But obviously that's one of the fears. I mean, it just seems never-ending, doesn't it?
Yeah, bad news comes again and again, so it's quite stressful.
Do you feel that, from what you're seeing, that the government is doing enough, that it's being open enough, that it's telling people what's happening enough and helping enough, or is it just so devastating that it's difficult to do much?
I wish it could be more transparent. Also, because we get other opinions from other agencies, nuclear agencies, and they're quite contradictory with what the government has released so far. But there's nothing much we can do, and Japan is actually very calm about it, and I feel that the Western media is creating more panic than is warranted. So actually, having spoken to my family in Japan, they said that if there was one message, it would probably be just calm down. Here in Europe, calm down, because what they don't need is probably panic. And Japanese have been coping really well so far.
Katsura?
Yeah, I think so. Japanese government and Tokyo Electric Power is putting amazing effort to deal with this hazard. But one thing I can say is that there are many people who are collaborating to create useful information for people in that area using Twitter or Facebook or whatever by grassroots. And I think government can make use of those people, but I guess there is not so much collaboration between those two parties.
And we do go out to Japan. I just wondered if there are people listening in Japan, whether you'd have a message for them. Katsura?
ロンドンでみんなが心配していますが、応援してます。頑張ってください。We are worrying, but we are with you.